For the last little bit, I have come across an area on TikTok where I am intrigued, disgusted, and just feeling a whole lot of feelings all at once. And today we are talking about mukbangs. Mukbangs have been around for forever. You guaranteed know what I'm talking about. But what I want to talk about specifically today is what mukbangs have turned into. It's not pleasant to watch. It's not pleasant to listen to. While there may be some people who enjoy that kind of content, 90% of people in the comments are people who do not enjoy that content.
Unpopular opinion, but watching mukbangs on TikTok is literally one of the most disgusting things that you could possibly do on this app. I don't know how anyone finds any enjoyment in watching people overconsume foods that are genuinely not good for your health. Like, to be honest, when I see people overconsume food like that, it genuinely makes me nauseous. So I don't know what type of fetish these types of people are feeding, but it's clearly not a good one. Not only that, but our nation, the United States of America, is dead suffering from an obesity pandemic, heart disease, and cardiovascular problems. And we are over here encouraging people to overconsume foods that are extremely calorie dense, high in fat, all for what? Entertainment?
Some mukbang influencers have completely lost the plot because they did not start out like that. Mukbangs were not meant for that purpose. In fact, their original purpose was completely opposite to what they are today. So we're going to dive into the history of mukbangs and just talk about how it's transformed over time with the rise of TikTok and just people doing anything to make money. And just so you know, all the videos today will be muted, so you won't have to hear any of the ASMR sounds. If you're into that, that's fine. I'm not going to judge you for being into that, but a lot of my viewers aren't, and so I am going to mute the videos for them and just have them playing as I'm talking. The only time I will play a sound on a TikTok is if the TikToker is actually talking and not doing any of the ASMR sounds. But before we dive into that further, I really want to share with you guys something that helps keep my eating habits in check, and that is the sponsor of today's video, Factor. Honestly, living a busy life, whether you're working, a parent, or both, or just have so much going on, while also maintaining a healthy lifestyle is so hard. Between managing all that and, not trying to reach for the first thing that's in the pantry, it can feel impossible to cook something healthy and that will actually make you feel good. One of the most stressful parts of my day is finding out what to eat. It's such a little thing, but whenever my husband asks me, what do you want for lunch? What do you want for dinner? What do you want for breakfast? I don't know. I'm not even thinking that far ahead yet. But Factor takes all that stress away, making eating clean and balanced very easy. Their meals are fresh and never frozen, chef and dietitian approved, and they now have over 80 rotating weekly meals, including double the seafood and high protein options. So whether you're into salmon or shrimp or just want more protein packed meals like turkey, beef, meatballs, there's something for you. And the menu just keeps expanding. They have new Asian and Mediterranean meals that are honestly delicious and that I definitely probably could not make on my own. What I love about Factor is that it fits into my routine very well. I just started getting back into the gym. Sometimes I fast in the morning, go to the gym, and then I also am starving after. And when I'm that hangry, I don't often make the best decisions. With Factor, I don't have to worry about skipping meals or grabbing something super processed just to fill the aching hunger in my stomach. They shop, prep, cook, and deliver ready-to-eat meals so you and I can experience the benefits of clean eating without any of the extra effort. 2 minutes in the microwave and I've got a meal that's actually going to fuel me throughout my day, not just fill me up. They even have a new option where you can swap proteins for free, so if you love pork and not chicken, you can swap them easy peasy. They take the guesswork out of eating clean, but also make their meals really delicious so you don't dread eating healthy. Whether you're keto, high protein, vegan, vegetarian, wanting meals that are fiber filled, or even GLP-1, you are covered thanks to their perfectly balanced meals. If you want to try it out, head to factor75.com or click the link in my description and use my code FriesenFB50 for 50% off plus breakfast free for 1 year. Again, that's FriesenFB50 for 50% off and free breakfast for 1 year. Thank you so much to Factor for sponsoring today's video. So let's start talking about the origins of mukbangs and how they came to be what they are today. Mukbang as a concept originated in South Korea in the late 2000s. At the same time, internet streaming culture was really taking off. The world itself is a mashup of the two Korean words, which I'm going to try to pronounce these as best as I can. I am not going to pretend like I know Korean, okay? I'm going to try to do the language justice, but there is a high likelihood that I will fail. So the first word is monun, which is to eat, and the other one is bangsong, which is to broadcast. And I'm really sorry if I butchered those words. I really tried my best. But if you're familiar with my channel, you know that I say even English words wrong all the time. So I really did try. But those two words together literally mean eating broadcast. The very first mukbangs appeared around 2009 on a platform called Africa TV, which was a live streaming service. Think of it as the Korean equivalent of Twitch. Hosts called mukbangers would set themselves up on a live stream and eat and chat and interact with viewers in real time. This was so much more than just watching someone eat. It was about building a community, about connection, about interaction. There's a lot of people who were really lonely, and so when people would tune into these live streams, it would feel like you would be eating with a friend. In South Korea, eating is a very social experience, but with a lot of young professionals, they were often really lonely, ate at odd hours, and often didn't have family or roommates to eat with, and so mukbangs filled that gap for them. And beyond the social aspect, people tuned in for other reasons too, which is like the ASMR, which is normal and attributed to the original mukbang culture. ASMR sounds, eating, slurping, that was all part of the performance of mukbangs. I watched a TikTok, which I'll play as I'm talking. I'm not gonna like play her whole TikTok, but what she basically said was in South Korea, or in Korea, they see mukbangs as a skill to eat deliciously. It's a skill to be able to do that. And so you want to be able to watch someone and feel like, you know what, I want that food, because they make it seem like it tastes so good. And so that's a skill and a performance. And a lot of people, even today in mukbang influencer culture, held on to that standard. So even though a lot of us don't like the ASMR sounds, that is quite normal for mukbang content. Others also like to live vicariously through these mukbangers. Some of them would eat foods that the viewer probably couldn't have due to health reasons, diet reasons. For example, my husband, he can't have garlic or onion. So those are two of the most delicious seasonings you can put on any food. And unfortunately, he can't have that. Is he into mukbang content? No, but he does like to watch cooking videos and things like that. He finds enjoyment in that. And so I can see why people would choose to watch mukbang content if they struggle with those same things. And then there's just the plain old reason of it's entertaining. It's simple as that. By around 2014, mukbangs have gone global. YouTube really started picking them up. You'd see a lot of YouTube creators like Trisha Paytas start doing mukbangs, and there's probably a whole bunch of others that I just am not familiar with. But they started adopting the format, and then things shifted pretty quickly once it left South Korea. The focus started shifting away from companionship and more about spectacle. So instead of sitting down with a simple home-cooked meal or a normal-sized portion of food and just sitting down with your friend on the other side of the screen, creators realized that what got clicks was extremes. Biggest pizza you've ever seen, the spiciest noodles, eating 10,000 pounds of mac and cheese, 20 cheeseburgers in one sitting. Audiences were fascinated, and there's something about watching someone push themselves to extremes that feels both impressive but also extremely shocking. There was a clear incentive. The bigger and more outrageous the meal, the more clicks you got and the more money you got. This is also where we start to see the seeds of some of the issues that define mukbang today. Unsustainable eating habits, excess, and performative chaos taking center stage over the original let's eat together vibe. Around 2017-2018, mukbang collided with another internet phenomenon, which is ASMR. For some people, specific sounds like whispering, tapping, or chewing trigger relaxing tingles in their scalp and spine, and mukbang, with its crunches, slurps, and chewing noises, became a natural turnover. Creators really leaned into this, and they set up high-quality microphones, filmed extreme close-ups, and exaggerated the sounds of eating to maximize the ASMR effect. A lot of the times you'll see in the comments that people are like, why is this person slurping? Like, this food does not require slurping. And it's because it's a performance. They're trying to make those sounds because of the ASMR element. But because of this is also where a more fetishized version of mukbangs became prevalent. Eating is already an intimate act, but when you combine that with all of these sounds, close-up eye contact, slow chewing, like licking things, like it becomes very clear that there is an undertone of a sexual nature in these videos. There are creators who offer this kind of content on websites like that website. So there is a market for this, and some people aren't putting a paywall in front of it. They're just posting it willingly. Now, some creators may do this intentionally while others don't do it intentionally. Like, that's not their intention behind it, but it can come off that way. And they just continue doing it because that's what the algorithm rewarded, regardless of what viewership they're bringing in. So mukbang culture has completely changed. It was originally supposed to be about companionship, comfort, things like that. And now it's turned into more spectacle. While there's still some of those mukbangers who hold true to the original meaning and the purpose of mukbangs, there is a lot of people who don't, often glorifying and encouraging unhealthy patterns of eating. There have been many cases of mukbang influencers passing away or having major health implications because of what they're doing. What people choose to eat is their choice, and I'm not here to shame anybody, but we do need to point out the very obvious fact that eating this way is not sustainable long term. The problem that comes with this kind of eating is that it's packaged as entertainment, and when it's repeated daily, it does catch up with the person that's doing the content. Some creators literally mukbang every single meal, post multiple times a day, turning what should be an occasional spectacle into a lifestyle. Eating this much stuff does take a toll on your health. We've seen it happen. We've seen the outcome of what can happen, and we do need to have conversations about changing mukbang culture into what it was supposed to be about in the first place. We need to revert back to that. Now, I want to talk about a more recent and serious incident that happened with a mukbang influencer. His name was Eftan Kultur. He was a 24 Turkish influencer who became wildly popular for his mukbang content. He frequently posted himself eating a large amount of food to the point where he was later hospitalized. And after struggling with obesity and other related complications, he did pass away on March 7th, 2025, after a 3-month-long hospital stay. He did try to make changes, but unfortunately at that point it was too late. I don't want this story to shame or judge anybody, but instead to educate. Efekan's story shows us the tragic reality of what can happen when mukbang as a lifestyle collides with health. But we're still seeing creators today not taking the warning and still pushing the limits, not caring about their bodies and what happens. Sometimes it's to the point where the audience watching is not people that are supporting the creator, but people who are watching with concern, trying to urge the creator to change. Now, one of the creators that I personally came across not too long ago that I've wanted to talk about for a while is James Bola. And a lot of his audience, he has 635,000 followers last time I checked. A lot of his audience are people who are genuinely concerned and urging him to change because they've seen his body change in a drastic way since the beginning of his mukbang content to now. His videos are a perfect example of where mukbang has shifted in 2025. He'll post things like just a little snack before breakfast and then dump 2 entire boxes of Chip Ahoy cookies into a mixing bowl, cover them with milk, and proceed to actually eat it all. He constantly says mood and calls mountains of food snacks before he goes out to eat a different meal, when we all know these are 2,000 or more calorie meals on their own. And the problem is that people keep watching. They keep providing him an incentive to continue to make this content because guaranteed that's how he makes his money.
Mood, we're gonna make a little snack because we're waiting for my DoorDash to get here. It says it's me like 35 minutes for it to get here. So we're gonna eat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Buldak noodles carbonara. A little snack. Mood.
He moans after every bite, which for some viewers crosses into uncomfortable territory to say the least. Some people think it's rage bait when he says this is just a little snack before he goes out to eat lunch or whatever, but it's not rage bait because he's actually doing it. Unless he's just saying he's going out to eat after, which I could see that being a reality, but it's the fact that he's promoting this unhealthy lifestyle. Nobody can sustain what he's promoting. Over time, people have dug up photos of what he looked like about 5 years ago. And yes, bodies change, but in his case, you can clearly see the impact of his choices catching up with him. And this is not to shame him because at the end of the day, it's his body, his choice, but we're coming from a place of genuine concern. It's also a call out because sometimes you need the harsh truth. And the harsh truth here is that James is slowly negatively impacting his health for nothing other than views and clicks. It's worth asking ourselves, are we watching another slow motion tragedy happen in real time? And unfortunately, with the way James is going, if he continues this way, that's exactly what's going to happen. Because if Efekan Kultur shows us the outcome, James Bola shows us the path, and platforms are rewarding it with views, engagement, and money, that's where it gets messy. It leaves very little incentive for creators to change and to prioritize their health. This is behavior that can harm him long term in a very serious way. And viewers, whether they admit it or not, can simply not look away. When you look back at the origins of mukbang, it's almost bittersweet. Like what started as a way to combat loneliness and have companionship and recreate the social experience of having a meal with somebody has been completely overshadowed by extremes. The community aspect is gone, the companionship is gone. What's left is performance, spectacle, and in most cases, absolute chaos. And while some mukbangers are really consuming massive amount of food like James Bola, there's a whole other side of this and it's just as problematic, and that's the fake mukbangs. What we're seeing are thin influencers eating 5,000, 8,000 or more calorie meals consistently on a consistent basis. And while there are people who are trained to do so, it's very unlikely that someone could keep up and actually eat this amount of food without gaining some weight. These influencers do not change. And so there's been some speculation that they aren't actually eating the food, that they're spitting it out. They clip the video before they actually show themselves swallowing, which is why people have come to this conclusion that they don't actually eat the food.
Somebody downloaded her video and went frame by frame and found a mistake in her editing where she actually forgot to cut out the part where she is seen spitting out the chicken bake after she supposedly ate it. And people in her comments on her next couple videos are reminding her about it, saying, just change your niche. We trusted you. Eating this, then spitting it out is crazy. Not to mention, everyone is upset that she is basically just wasting food by buying these 5 chicken bakes, but then spitting out the food. It's okay if you only eat one. We would still watch. What a waste of food.
Scientifically speaking, it does not add up. You cannot eat thousands of calorie meals a day and not gain any single weight unless you have a very fast metabolism. Even then, if you're not burning the amount of calories you're taking in, it just doesn't add up, and it's basically impossible to continuously eat this way without seeing some significant changes in your body or in your health. In other words, in this case, mukbang is more of an illusion than a reality, and that's also just taking away the complete meaning of what it was supposed to be. TikTok creator Baby Dumpling was the cause of a very big controversy back when TikTok was about to be banned, and then plot twist, did not get banned, actually admitted in a TikTok that she doesn't actually eat all the food in her mukbang videos. At first, she came clean about it because she thought TikTok was going away, and that sparked a lot of conversation about authenticity in mukbang content. However, once she realized TikTok was not facing a ban, she backtracked completely, claiming that yes, she does eat all the food.
I thought it was obvious that it was a joke. I promise I eat all the food. I literally post uncut videos.
This backtracking does not go unnoticed. People did not believe her when she backtracked. Viewers are still skeptical, confused, and even disappointed, and now she's gone back to posting this content as if she did not say what she said. Now, this problem is not just about tricking viewers. We see this all over social media where people will post fake drama, fake scenarios. A couple influencers will post fake confrontations or conflicts just for entertainment purposes. And I think that's what this content is for entertainment. While that may be true, it also sets a very dangerous precedent of like, this is normal. People can actually eat this amount of food and still maintain their body size. They can eat this amount of food and still be healthy, which is just not the case.
Let me just make something super duper clear. Eating as many calories as you possibly can of so-called bad food or junk food in a short period of time is hugely problematic regardless of what you weigh. So no matter who's performing this eating challenge, and let's be clear, this is a performance, can we just stop fueling the algorithm to reward them for it?
It just contributes to unrealistic expectations. One thing I want to tell you guys is that when I was first starting to come across mukbang content a few months ago, a lot of the influencers I would see come up on my For You page would be very into the Buldak Ramen noodles, and they looked delicious. They very much performed the act of eating deliciously when it came to these noodles. Being as influenced as I was, I went to the store, I got the Buldak carbonara noodles, and I ate them. But then when I turned the nutrition label over for one packet, the amount of sodium. So the American Heart Association recommends taking a maximum of 1,500 milligrams of sodium per day. And the Buldak ramen noodles alone in one package had 1,330 milligrams of sodium. And then you see these mukbangers having not one or two or three, but many packages of these Buldak ramen noodles. It can have serious implications on your health. After realizing what that amount of sodium can do to your body, I have not bought them since.
She is in the ER because of kidney stones, and not gonna lie, I had to look up what Buldak noodles were. It's these things, and honestly, it looks like some delicious ramen. This is kidney physiology. Super complicated, really, only kidney doctors truly understand this. But let me boil this down for you. The more sodium that's going to your kidney, the more calcium has to be excreted. Those two are coupled. So the more sodium, the more calcium gets excreted into your ureters. And calcium clumps up into a ball. You get calcium kidney stone. That's exactly what happened to her.
At the end of the day, whether the food is actually consumed or not, the end result for viewers is the same. Unhealthy relationships with food is being normalized, and content is designed for shock or clicks. Not for health, not for sustainability, not for honesty, but just to get the money and the clicks and the recognition. Now, I asked you guys in my community tab what you thought, and this is what some of you said. Modern mukbangs to me are fetish content. The slurping, the opening of the mouth really wide, the chewing with full cheeks, it's so weird. Look up Katie Whitney and you'll see the signs of it being fetish content, which I'm not gonna look up. I don't want to see that. But a lot of them also spit the food out and don't even eat it due to the large volume. Honestly, when I think back on it, mukbangs on YouTube used to feel a lot more casual, like watching your favorite creators sit down for a meal, chat about life, or do a Q&A. It gave off the vibe of a virtual sit down with them, and it naturally built a more personal parasocial connection with viewers. Now though, mukbangs have really evolved into their own category, focused more on extremes, ASMR, and often leaning into shock value just for views. Personally, I don't enjoy them as much anymore, but I can see why the earlier style felt comforting and relatable, especially if the viewer was struggling with eating. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't mind like people reviewing food, but mukbangs weird me out and they waste a ton of food. I love mukbangs, my Korean mom does too. We're picky about who we watch because messy rage bait content annoys us. I don't mind food noises. As a Korean, we slurp and make noise when eating foods if it's good, but the messiness, the moaning, etc. is over the top. It started as a way to join someone while eating a meal so you're not alone. It's truly wholesome. My mom has lived in the US for 30 plus years and it gives her a way to feel connected to a traditional Korean family eating. I hate the way thin influencers make us think they're eating all of this very unhealthy food when they never show themselves swallowing. Clearly they are spitting it out, but I worry many people will think that they can eat the same way and not gain weight or become unhealthy themselves. It's clearly fetish content plus rage bait shock factor. Also, didn't one mukbang TikToker admit her vids were fake? So where do mukbangs go from here? Because quite honestly, I don't see how things are going to change. I think it's only going to get worse. It's possible this kind of content keeps pushing extremes until it gets burnt out. Eventually, audiences will get desensitized and creators will have to go to even bigger extremes to get the views. On the other hand, I've seen a new wave of mukbang content being normalized, and this is healthier mukbang content. So healthier, more mindful, eating more fruits and veggies instead of very highly processed, filled with sodium packed meals. Whether that catches on though really depends on algorithms and TikTok and YouTube and what the algorithms are rewarding, what people are watching, or whether shock value is going to be end all be all on success in mukbang content. Nikocado Avocado, he was one of the most famous, well-known mukbang influencers out there, doing huge messy spreads, sometimes crying, just having this whole performance, screaming and getting very theatrical about his food. But recently he has shifted gears. He's leaned more into a healthier lifestyle. He's lost a lot of weight, adjusted his mukbangs, and just comes off as being more mindful of his eating habits than he used to be. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think mukbangs will eventually return to what they were supposed to be? Or do you think it's only going to get worse from here? God bless you all, and until next time.